Okay, Steve. So, part one, we talked about pricing up greyhounds. Now, you actually trained them, but
I
you
did.
trained them for racing around flapping tracks, and you gave me some names: Warwick, Hickley, Bedwellty, the Valley, Chesterfield, and Highgate. Not
Yeah.
names that normally
Well,
spring to.
it's
Yeah,
sure.
tell us about that.
Well, it's Hinckley, which is in between Coventry and Leicester. 83 miles from my house to Hinckley. I used to go every Wednesday if I could. Warwick, 64 miles, so a fair bit of travelling. I had, when I moved up to where I am now, had some kennels built, bottom of the garden. A mate of mine did all that for me, and I had sort of 3 or 4 dogs at any one time for a period of about 5 or 6 years, and I absolutely loved it. It was the sort of thing. A flapping track is basically was an unlicensed track. It wasn't part of the NGRC then, National Greyhound Racing Club. It was basically anybody could take a greyhound there. You'd have one qualifying trial. You'd have to trial with another dog, and as long as you did grading time, you could run it whenever you wanted. The beauty of it was you could pick and choose. If you've got dogs graded on at different tracks, you could pick and choose. I'm going to Hinckley Wednesday night. We might have a ride down to Bedwellty, which is down in Wales, or Ystrad Monarch, which is the Valley. They're about 6 miles apart. The Valley has since reopened as a licensed track, the GB track. You can see pictures of that in the betting shops, and obviously now online you can watch the races. But that was an independent track, the flapping track, and I was a proper greyhound trainer. And I got my dog or my dogs, and I would go on to Hinckley on a Wednesday night. You'd phone up and enter them on a Monday morning. You'd turn up, you wouldn't know what race you were in. It was all very cloak and dagger stuff. The tracks didn't like you knowing in advance who was in with who, because everybody was thinking everybody's up to no good. And if I would turn up sometimes with one dog, because I only had one dog, I'd go all the way to Hinckley on my own. I wouldn't look to bet. I'd have a tenner on if it was 4 to 1 or more. I'd just have to get somebody to do that, because I'm putting the dog in the traps, getting the dog at the pickup, but absolutely loved it.
Was that why you were doing it? Because you loved it?
I loved it.
It doesn't sound like there's much money in it.
There isn't. No, you have to pay to get in. So you pay £3.50 to get in, or £3 at most tracks. You'd have to pay to enter your dog. So you're in the paddock, they come around, check your earmarks, check the dog's earmarks. You'd pay £3 entry fee for the race. Most places it was £25 for a win, and that was it.
So what sort of people run these tracks?
They were at Hinckley was Tommy Grant and his stepson. They had a bungalow adjacent to the property, and the track had been there for years. Warwick, it was leased out to various people down behind an old boiler factory, through some allotments, but it was a beautiful track. And they used to get a lot of people there. All people I remember from surrounding villages from where I am. There'd be 7 or 8 people they'd have dogs, they'd go to Warwick.
So was it illegal or just not licensed?
No, it wasn't. No, it was just not licensed. It wasn't recognised as part of the National Greyhound. It was nothing illegal. It's not like air coursing or anything like that. You'd have the programme, and the results would be printed in various local, the local newspaper for that area. It was just an opportunity for somebody to train greyhounds.
So why did you go down that route and not under rules?
I wouldn't like the thought of a track telling me that you've got 3 runners tomorrow night, or I would rather pick and choose where I want to go and when I want to go. Like, I wouldn't set off if it was going to be really bad weather, in advance, put 3 dogs in to go somewhere when I know it was going to be -2, and I wouldn't do it. So I just went down. The opportunity was there. You didn't need any form of kennel visits or anything like that. If you had a dog, you could go racing.
So how was the I mean, you said you have a tenner on, but I mean, was there spirited betting, and who was taking the bets, and what sort of size money was going
there
on?
was some.
And was it bent?
Let's do one question at a time. There was a hell of a crowd there.
I'm getting carried away.
Oh no, yeah. There was a hell of a crowd there. I mean, Hinckley was probably the strongest market. There was 5 bookmakers there. A couple of them were racecourse bookmakers. I saw them at Southall. Ah, so and so from Hinckley. I don't go horse racing, or didn't go horse racing very often. There was some money around at these tracks, Hinckley. Later on, at times I would have a few more quid on, sometimes quite a few quid, if you thought you were in the right grade, and as you become more experienced as a trainer, or a so-called trainer. Was it bent? You'll hear so many stories. There was plenty of skullduggery. There was. My sort of angle to try to, if I fancied one of mine, I knew what sort of grade it was in. I knew the opposition. I used to get the video of every race at the meeting. I managed to get hold of the runners prior to race day, and you would get to know. If you've entered 3 dogs in 500-yard races, and they've got your best dog in the worst race, then you'd have to have a look at it. But it was fantastic. It was real, what we call doggy people. Used to have a great laugh, lots of banter. It was amazing. It really was. And then just gradually died out.
Well, that's my next question. I mean, you've trained 80 winners.
I tried to have a count. It's just over 80 winners.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound meant. Well, it
does. It sounds quite a few. I mean,
it's probably over 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But the thing with it, because the attention that the dog needs, you couldn't. It was to the exclusion of a lot of other things. You couldn't really do too much else. You're with them in the morning, breakfast, and then feeding in the evening, cleaning them out, checking their nails, all sorts of things. You had to put a lot of work in with the dogs.
And did you train them and own them all yourself?
Yeah, they were my dogs, yeah.
So you didn't used to train for anybody else?
A long-standing friend of mine sadly passed away. We had the dogs between us, but basically I would go to Perry Bar Sales, I'd buy dogs, I'd pay 40 or 50 guineas, and they've all turned out winners. I wouldn't pay a lot of money for a dog, but you've got a dog, it's a commitment. You've got that dog, then you're responsible for that dog. When the tracks were closing, we made sure we found homes locally for when they're retiring. One of them I've kept indoors. She was always indoors. She was with me till passed away just before aged 11. But she was always indoors. I'd be here watching the telly, she'd be on the sofa.
So how many would you have had at any one given time?
Never more than 4. Never more than 4. You'd need 2 cars to take 4 dogs. My mate used to take 4 dogs in the back of a car. It's too much. So we'd take 2 cars out, take them for a nice long walk a couple of times a week. It really did the best for the dogs.
And you've already talked about pricing up your greyhound. So is that for your own personal punting, or do you do it for anybody?
Well, I've started sending it to. Started turning up at Swindon, and there's a couple of trainers and owners and people that I've got to know. Oh, let's have a look. What price do you make this? What price do you make that? And I said, well, I'll send it to you if you want. Occasionally, I'll send a message to one of the trainers or a couple of the trainers. So and so looks well in Thursday. You'll either get a reply, yeah, I think it'll win, or I don't know. You might get some reply. The best reply is for the chances of it winning. If there was no reply at all, I thought, I don't want to say anything about this.
You have to rejig your prices then?
Not really. No, once I've done them, no. But so that was going out to quite a few people on a WhatsApp basis.
Not for free, or did you?
Yeah,
charge
free.
them?
No, I've never charged anybody. Originally back with the Hove in 2009. No, a lot of people have said you should charge for this. I don't want feel that you're under pressure then to have to do it. If I choose not to do it, I choose not to do it. But it was going out to a lot of people. A couple of trainers were saying, why don't tip any of my dogs up? There's a Telegram, I've set a Telegram group up, and all I'll do is highlight price differences. There'll be a dog open, say it's 9 to 4 with 365. Half an hour later, up comes Paddy Power and the Sky Bet lot, and they're 5 to 1. I make it a 9 to 4, 2 to 1 shot, and a 2 to 1 shot that I think will run well. I would advise people, such and such, trap one in the thing, looks overpriced at 5 to 1. It's got every chance of leading all the way. I'm not saying go out and try and get as much as you can on it. I'm just reporting the fact that I think it's overpriced.
Hence trade the prices. So
It's kind of,
bet
yeah,
to
yeah,
nothing
yeah,
if you could.
Yeah, there's,
Get in
I
and
mean,
out.
there's a little story without mentioning too many names. They've got a nice few quid on a 9 to 2 shot that's shortened up. It's gone off 11 to 10. And obviously they've got rid of it, which you can do in this day and age, and stood to sort of win 800 quid for nothing, a free bet for 800 quid. Got beat at short head.
Now, people like the sound of this, so there could be hundreds of people watching this now that are thinking, Steve does it for free, so can they get in contact with you or not?
Well, I set up a Telegram group. It all started from the horses when I retired as such, and I would say I was a professional punter for 4 months until the inevitable happened. I got shut, couldn't get a bet on. Now, whether it was me being naive or being out of touch, being out of the game for 10 years or so, I couldn't believe it. Bookmakers wouldn't take bets. So the horses that what I was doing in this horse racing in a professional way, I was still putting some horses up on Twitter that would be the sort of horses I would back. And then it went to a Telegram group. And then I set a Telegram group up for the dogs and a bit of non-league football. And I thought, well, hey ho, it's easy to set up. I wasn't worried about giving information away. But on the greyhound side of things, I've had a couple of trainers get in touch with me. Why are you tipping up my dogs? I've got my owners going mental. They're paying this amount for these dogs and they can't because all your lot are taking all the prices. And I'm thinking, well, hang on, it's not totally me, surely.
Well, it's a public sport, isn't it? So
well, it is. And I'd always send a nice reply. I wouldn't just say, no, sling your up. I'd always send a nice reply. I fully understand it. I'm just highlighting price differences, really.
So are you betting at the moment?
No, not to a very small degree. A couple of years ago at Swindon, in the morning meetings, yes, I was getting stuck in and I was laying them for a few quid, backing them for a few quid. One of the guys on Twitter said to me, I really like your odds sheet. I back every dog of yours that's 7 to 2 or less, providing I can get 10 to 1 or more. And I thought, well, that's not a bad way of doing it. And he sent me some results. And I started checking the results. Now, it was amazing. Well, when you think, if you say the 7 to 2 is somewhere near correct, if you can get 10, 12, 14 to 1, you can have a few free goes at that. And it is amazing, the number of winners it was chucking up. And I was oblivious to this.
So finally, for this bit, can people contact you if they want to get hold of your prices, or is it that
Just via Twitter? Yeah, no, just via Twitter. Honestly, via Twitter, I'm more than happy. I'm not looking to charge anybody, never have done. I'm in a financial position where I don't need to use it as a form of income. And I wouldn't, if somebody can use the prices and make themselves a couple of quid, then great. It really is great. It is a job to get, obviously, any money on of any big stakes with dogs at early prices. But yeah, come through on Twitter and I'll always reply and I'll tell them where they can find it.